Welcome back to Rusted Junk, the 80s Movies podcast. Do you find yourself wanting to put on a corked hat, fight crocodiles in the outback and then move to New York? How about befriending an alien by dressing him up as a ghost on Halloween? If so, this is the podcast for you. If you remember searching for that perfect film from Blockbuster, and if you grew up in the UK, waiting for that one VHS copy to be returned to the newsagents, then welcome. We'll have fond memories waiting for you. I'm Charlie, and the rest of the Rusted Junk team are Amanda.
Hello.
Joe.
How do you all?
And Dom.
Hello.
The theme for season 7 of Rusted Junk is Lucky Dip. We've all picked 4 movies. I picked 5, just because. And the first movie, because.
What?
Oh, because
Is you
I've got an
special?
extra go. Yeah, because I've done a lot of work. For those people that liked our new intro, by the way, if you want to go, it's all nice and sparkly on YouTube, unless you just listen to it. But yeah, go and have a check it out. It's because I'm quite proud of it. I didn't do it, by the way. I got somebody to do it for me. But the first film, not out of the hat, even though we will be drawing out the hat for the next film. This is all new. There's loads of good stuff going on. It's all going to be. You're going to be what? Why are they changing everything? It's for the better, trust me. But the first film was Fatal Attraction, and for those that don't know, Fatal Attraction is a 1987 American psychological thriller directed by Adrian Lyne from a screenplay by James Dearden, based on his 1980 short film Diversion. The film centres on Dan Gallagher, played by Michael Douglas. He's on the rise at the New York law firm. He's happily married to his wife. Beth, played by Ann Archer, has a loving daughter, but after a casual fling with a sultry book editor named Alex, Glenn Close, everything changes. Jilted by Dan, Alex becomes unstable, her behaviour escalating from aggressive pursuit to obsessive stalking. And Dan realises that his main problem is not hiding his affair, but rather saving himself and his family. Here's the trailer.
A look that led to an evening.
We are attracted to each other at the party. That was obvious. You're on your own for the night. That's also obvious.
A mistake he'd regret all his life.
Now, where's your wife?
Daddy! Honey, oh, God,
And you're here with a strange girl being a naughty boy.
I don't think having dinner with anybody's a crime.
I've got to see you.
This is gonna stop.
No, it's not going to stop. It's going to go on and on.
She keeps calling the apartment.
Hello?
Every time Beth answers the phone, she hangs up. I'm scared, Jimmy.
You play fair with me? Do you have an affair with her? I'll play fair with you.
I don't want to lose my family.
How could you do that?
Now, you're scared of me, aren't you? You're afraid. Gutless, heartless, spineless.
If you ever come near my family again, I'll kill you. You understand?
Daddy! I'm not going to be ignored.
Alicia, where's Ellen?
She's gone.
Call the police.
Whatever resentment she's feeling, she's probably got it out of her system.
What if she didn't get it out of her system? What then?
Fatal Attraction.
I guess you thought you'd get away with it. Well, you can't.
Now, that is a trailer.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? That's like an 80s trailer. What do we
I'd
do?
want to watch the film.
Well, a lot of people agreed with you. Yeah.
What were the takings on that? Do you know?
I did have the takings. I believe they were around 350 million.
Ooh.
On a budget of 15.
That's good going, isn't
A
it?
lot of money.
It was
But-
the highest grossing film of 1987 globally, and the second in the US after
Three Men and a Baby.
Three Men and a Baby.
Yeah, everyone
Oh
watched
my
that.
god!
Yeah, it's great.
It's more of a family film.
I guess so. More of a wider audience.
So we're going to change things around for those people that are going, "Ooh, what the scores? What the scores?" We're going to leave the scores until the end.
You can leave you hanging.
We are genuinely, and it's a good reason for that, because
You can listen
we
to the
think
end.
collectively it might change. I have a score in mind at the moment. All of us have a score in mind at the moment. It may change. It might get worse. It might get better, depending on the conversation that we have. But we will bring it out. We will average it, and then we will start rating the movies. How we do it for the others, I haven't decided that yet. but don't worry, we'll come up with something. So, in no particular order, what I'm looking for is where you first saw Fatal Attraction and what are your initial thoughts of it before we get into the film. So, Amanda, what did you think? Where did you first see it? I'm gonna take a wild stab in the dark here. it was on in the lounge, and you passed and.
No, not quite.
Okay.
I never saw it when it came out because it wasn't really my kind of film, and I would only have been 13, so not really my kind of film. So I didn't watch it until the 90s.
Okay.
Like the late 90s. And I was a bit apprehensive of whether I did actually want to watch it anyway, because I thought it was like more of a horror film thing.
Right. Okay.
But when I did see it, yeah, I was a bit like kind of freaked out by it.
Right.
To be perfectly honest.
Had somebody told you the end?
No.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. So, initial thoughts of the film?
Initial thoughts? What, back then?
Well, of what you thought about it after seeing it, just recently.
Okay, so I couldn't really remember the film, to be perfectly honest, because it's a long time ago since I've seen it. So it was like watching it afresh, which I suppose was quite good because I'm obviously a lot older, at least 20 years older, possibly 30. So looking at it from the perspective that I've got now will be very, very different from when I first saw it. So I have a bit of a problem. And that's because I would probably want a bit more information or realization about Alex's backstory.
Ooh.
Because I can't quite believe she would be that unhinged just on a 1 to 2 day fling. I don't get it, and you don't get to find out like about her character enough, I don't think. So it for me it leaves a bad taste in my mouth because it portrays this woman as being very mad, crazy, unhinged, and I don't think that's fair.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. That certainly, I know that will certainly come up, if not in trivia time, if just before. Dom.
Yeah, I feel I should go next as well because my first memories of it are very similar to Amanda's in the sense that I was too young to watch it. First time round, watched it on a VHS copy in the 90s. And if I'm to be honest with myself, with all of you and with our listeners, most likely to try and get a bit of nipple action.
About the sex, isn't it, Dom?
I think so, yeah. I was a teenage lad and it had a reputation for Glenn Close getting them out, shall we say. So I'm not proud of this. And that won't be
at least you're honest.
A big theme I'll return to, now I'm a mature individual, as you see before you today. So that's
Sorry, where's that? Where's the mature individual? Sorry?
It's the grey beard, that's what it is. Yeah, so mainly watched it for titillation and probably hit the mark when I was in my teenage years. On rewatching, I think it's a strong choice, a great way to kick off the season because it's a big iconic movie that remains etched in the public mind. Bunny Boiler is part of the language that we all use now. And I think similar to some of the films I've chosen for this season, and no spoilers, but I think it's one that splits opinion because I thought there was a lot to like about this film, but I also thought there were a couple of fairly significant flaws to it as well, which did detract from overall enjoyment. But yeah, big meaty film to get our teeth into. Looking forward to hearing what you all have to say about it.
Wow, okay, cool. Joe?
Yes, out of everyone, I probably could have seen this when it came out in the 80s. But like Amanda, I wasn't interested in it. I just had no interest whatsoever in it. I had seen a lot of trailers for it, and it was very popular at the time, but it just wasn't my kind of movie back then. So my actual first time seeing it was 5 days ago.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Joe.
Oh,
this
yes.
is great.
That's a little nugget that you kept off our conversations.
Oh my
very nice.
God.
Yeah.
Wowzers. How did this film how did it escape you for so long?
I don't know. I just wasn't interested. I mean, I saw Basic Instinct. I liked that one. I was more, well, we'll get into it, I guess. But I agree with you, Amanda. There needed to be more backstory on Alex because when you look at her, and she's got a pretty decent job too.
Exactly.
You would think that she would have lost that job at some point, and that he would not have been the only one that she lost her mind for.
Exactly.
There's got to be like a field full of bodies somewhere out there.
Or there's a trigger point or something that's happened. So
yeah, but it was a very good movie. And again,
yeah,
I had said this to Charlie. They just don't make movies like this anymore, where you can
No, they
sit
don't.
down, enjoy it. It's good acting, good writing, good direction. It just was so well done. I really enjoyed it, and and I wonder if this could be made now.
Oh well, we just may come to that, Joe.
We may come to that. I know what you're going to say, but
We've got a big fan in the team of the new Fatal Attraction,
yeah.
haven't we, Dom?
Yeah. I dutifully did my homework and watched the TV miniseries remake, the first episode at least. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get to that. So for me, I did see it in the cinema, and the very shortened version. For all those that have listened to podcasts before, know that I used to get packaged up to Newcastle all the time. In the summer, my parents put money in my pocket and sent me up to stay with my sister's ex-boyfriend. Yes,
They
it's a
didn't
long
like
story.
you.
Fine, but occasionally he came the other way and stayed, even though he was the ex-boyfriend. And
That's
he would
weird.
look.
Sorry,
I know this is going to sound really weird. He would look after me. So
What?
there would be me and him in the house.
Babysitter.
Well, sort of. I was 15, and he went, "Should we
even
go down
worse.
to the local cinema and watch this Fatal Attraction?" And I went, "Will I get in?" Because I think he kind of knows me. He says, "It's all right. Don't worry. Just go past, and I'll."
That's very
smuggle you in."
irresponsible. Taking a
Yeah.
15-year-old into an 18.
Well, we sat and watched I sat and watched Fatal Attraction in the cinema with the audience reaction when I was 15, and to say that he'd told me he'd found out what the ending was, and he told me what the ending was, and I think that was worse because I knew it was coming, and I was crapping myself because I was like, "Oh, this bathtub scene's coming," type thing. So yes, that's where I saw it. But even though I was 15 and an impressionable age and probably shouldn't have seen it, but I'm glad that I did, because I'd seen worse when I was slightly younger.
Did you know there was like nakedness in it as well, or not?
Well, I knew there was steamy sex scenes.
Steamy.
But that's, as we used to call them, steamy.
It's the soft. It's not actually. That.
It's not sex.
No, it's
It's
9.5
romping
weeks.
around, isn't it?
Well, we've got the same director, like 9.5 weeks style stuff. So yeah, probably just
Yeah.
nicked from that.
A lot of it's in the mind.
I have to say this is iconic, and when we get to roll call, we'll talk about Michael Douglas's role in iconic films, of which he seems to pick. He seems to pick some absolute belters and things that people really are talking about around the water cooler. It doesn't surprise me if you walked into a cinema to see another film and this was being trailered, and you were looking at that, you'd be chomping at the bit to see this film because you'd just be going, "This just looks incredible. This looks like a great cast. Oh, look, it's the guy from Romancing the Stone." He was, it just looks inviting in the sense that you need to see it because you need to be part of that conversation. So no wonder it did well. But anyway, on that note, shall we go into roll call and then talk about Michael Douglas? Here's roll call.
Roll call.
So, Michael Douglas. Almost feels like I need to bring out the what did we used to call it? Amanda's Little Does She Know?
Little does she know, yeah.
You give me 4 films with Michael Douglas in that isn't Romancing the Stone and isn't this film.
What's the one where he goes a little bit mad with everything? He gets really angry.
Yeah.
What's that one called?
Okay, Falling Down. I'll give you
That's
the
the
title.
one.
You
Yeah.
just give me the brief description. That's fine.
You've put me on the spot. Oh, crumbs. Michael Douglas. Oh, I'm thinking of Indecent Proposal, but that was the other guy, wasn't it? The other old guy.
Robert Redford. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Perhaps I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I can't.
Let's start with Streets of San Francisco, which is probably
know what
Joe.
that is.
Am I right in saying that's where he made his started to make his mark?
His television debut.
Yeah.
Well, he's. We're getting into his background, or is this? Because he is Kirk Douglas's son.
Yes. Yeah.
So he was basically famous for that. But yes, Streets of San Francisco, and I found it kind of fascinating that he produced One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was
He produced it.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
I guess he was around 30 at the time, which he ages well. You know,
He
like
does.
when you look at it, because that would be 20 years from. So he must have been in his 50s when he was making Fatal Attraction, right? So looks pretty good.
So is he nearly to sort of mid-80s now?
Yeah, we haven't seen too much of him lately, and I think that there's a reason for that. But yeah, he's probably out there. I would say.
78 years, yeah. But
He's 78.
Yeah, 78.
I was just a couple of years younger than my mum then.
Wow. Dom, what about Michael? Before we go into the whole roll call, what about yourself? Memories of?
How have we got this far talking about Michael Douglas and not mentioned two key facts: Wall Street
Yes.
and Catherine Zeta-Jones? Yeah, I don't know which I admire him more for, but yeah, honestly, he may be a multimillionaire, but he would never have to buy a drink if I was out with him on a night.
Oh, absolutely.
Wall Street is just what a film that is, and
It
Catherine
is.
Jones, what a woman she is. Yeah, so Michael Douglas, I doff my cap and reveal my shiny red bonds to you.
So basically, you like him for one movie role and the other one because he managed to pull a Welsh stunner.
Yeah, well, those are the two things I admire most for.
Okay, well.
As well.
Yes, we can veer off limits. So we can veer off course at any time.
The American President, that's a pretty decent film, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
Makes a good president, Joe. Probably you might not think so because he's Democrat, isn't he?
I was watching that the other night too, and yeah, no, he's a good actor. You got to give it to him. It's not like, he has a good presence. We'll say he does good in what he does. He's a star.
He is. And if you look at the early stuff, so we got Coma, China Syndrome, and the Star Chamber. The Star Chamber is brilliant. It's about a secret group of judges that are basically, they make a judgment, the killer goes off scot-free, and the Star Chamber decides whether they're guilty and sends the assassin after them and finishes the job.
What?
Michael Douglas is the one that exposes all of it. He's brilliant. But then we've got the breakout, and we must call it, I think, the breakout role of Romancing the Stone. So popular, that film, that they rushed into, and not in a bad way, because it turned out to be a just as good film. A year later, so Romancing the Stone was 84, Jewel of the Nile was 85. So popular, Michael Douglas suddenly appears on the global stage, suddenly appears as somebody to look to. And as you just said, Dom, from there, Fatal Attraction, Wall Street, Black Rain, War of the Roses, where he's done the Romancing the Stone with Kathleen Turner and then plays the bickering divorce, with Danny DeVito, again, back from Romancing the Stone. The three of them are back together, playing the most darkest film that you'll probably see in the 80s. Funny, but really dark. From there, Basic Instinct, again, not game-changing, but water cooler moments. Yes, did she or didn't she? Falling Down, American President, The Game with Sean Penn, brilliant. It's a great film. Then you've got the sequel to Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps. Then not so much. He then makes things like Last Vegas, Ant-Man, and then we watched him in the TV series The Kaminsky Method, didn't we?
Oh yeah, that's really, really good.
And he is great in that. He is really good in that. So, you know what? When we talk about bona fide movie stars, I know they all drop off after a while. I mean, apart from the Olivia Colmans and the Helen Mirrens, they just keep going and they keep making, sort of quality films. His CV is like some of the best. I mean, that as a movie marathon, I don't think there's anything there that I wouldn't want to watch. So,
in doing research for this pod, I saw he got some recognition for his portrayal of Liberace in the film Behind the
Yeah, I saw that one.
I haven't seen it. I was just really curious as to how he did in that one.
He's very good in that.
Yeah, no, he was good. For what he played.
What did he do?
Hmm?
What was he in that film?
He was Liberace.
Yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
I wish my brother George was here.
I have no idea what that's about, but there we go.
Anyway, on to Glenn Close. We're going to shorten roll calls from unless there's some some absolute belters in the wings. We're just going to focus on the main stars. Glenn Close. Anyone want a favorite Glenn Close film?
Yeah, I would say
have a stab at the dark of any other Glenn Close film.
Don't pick on Amanda because I'm sure we're all going to have problems with this one.
Okay.
I will anyway. I could say Guardians of the Galaxy. She was in that.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Isn't she in some kind of really long, boring film out of Africa or something?
That was Meryl Streep.
I get them confused.
Oh.
I do,
she was
especially
in the thing with the
There we go.
Dangerous Liaisons.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
very
loved
good,
that movie.
Brilliant.
Yes, I like that one. That was very cunning and very manipulative, that movie, wasn't it? The characters that they played.
I think that's her best movie, to be honest. The Dangerous Liaisons, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan though. I'll just declare it now. But yeah, I think either Fatal Attraction or Dangerous Liaisons were her career highlights. Although famously, she's been the most Oscar-nominated person never to win an Oscar. So she's been nominated 6 times. So she has got a good portfolio of films. But you'd be hard pushed to name some of them. I'm pretty sure. Not you, Amanda, but us collectively.
Well, thanks for that recognition, Dom.
Just in case it felt like I was having a go. I mean, I did. I mean, even the more recent ones, The Wife, nominated for Best Actress, can't remember that one. Albert Nobbs, 2011, nominated for Best Actress for that one. Can't remember that movie at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to have to kick off with The World According to Garp. Being funny. She's... Everyone in that, take a bow. But she is exceptionally good in that film. I keep saying that I'm going to have to watch it again, and I will. I'll keep to my word this week. Jagged Edge with Jeff Bridges. That's got a heck of a good twist in it. Plays a lawyer trying to decide whether or not he committed murder or not. Doing Dangerous Liaisons. Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
She was in the TV show Damages with Rose. What was her second name? Rose Byrne, who was in Bridesmaids. But she also played the vice president in Air Force One. Get off my plane. What a film. And lastly, on to Anne Archer. So, see, this is going to be this might be tricky for everyone, but Anne Archer will always be a particular thing to me apart from Fatal Attraction. And I think Joe might be the only one that might guess it.
Probably not.
Okay, all right.
I'm stumped.
Well, she starred in this isn't it, but she starred in a film shortly after this with Narrow Margin with Gene Hackman, which is where she plays a witness and he's a lawyer. And they need to go on the run, and it's really, really good. She was in Body of Evidence, the poorly received Madonna film.
Oh, Madonna, yeah.
Yeah.
Candle wax.
But she's also Jack Ryan's wife in Patriot Games. Harrison Ford's wife, not my Jack Ryan. Hashtag not my Jack Ryan. But yeah, so not a lot for that. Dom, I'm going to give you a little bit of a test now.
Oh.
So, the daughter, Ellen, what film did she go on to do?
Well, first of all, I didn't realise it was an actress in this film for quite some time until they started explicitly referring to her as a girl, because I was...
I know, I thought she was a boy.
Me too. I thought it was Alan.
Yeah.
Alan.
Yeah.
You don't see enough babies called Alan these days, do you? It seems to have fallen from fashion. But yeah, I do happen to know the answer to this. It's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, isn't it? I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, Ruby Sue.
Yeah. What a film that is. Yeah, but that's what she's from.
But who was she? She was like the young girl.
Yeah.
She was what's his name? Randy Quaid's daughter?
Randy Quaid's daughter, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting.
And we also
How old is she now then?
Oh, she must be. Oh, again, must be late 30s, I would think. And do you want an extra bonus point for the babysitter?
Oh, I remember her. She's
Yes.
out of the one with the dancing baby.
Ally
What's her
McBeal.
name? That's the one.
Jane, am I pronouncing it right? Jane Krakowski?
Yeah, she's a tough one to pronounce.
Well, Dom, do you want the bonus point? Why is she linked with Ellen? Not just the babysitter.
They share a dad.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Smokes weed with them when they go on the One to Wally World. Is that right? Or am I getting them mixed up?
Well, yeah, you're close. Technically, they're on-screen sisters because Jane Krakowski is Randy Quaid's eldest daughter.
That's it. Yeah.
So in National Lampoon, she's the one on the swing. That she goes. Somebody tells me I've forgotten the line is. I get told I'm a great kisser. Yeah, Daddy said it's the best he's ever had or something. That's the line.
Oh God.
Yeah, I know. Well, it is Randy Quaid, but technically they're sisters in that film.
I think credit where it's due here, Charlie. Just for benefit of our listeners, about 10 minutes before this pod started, you messaged us and asked me or Joe to pick up the slack and help you out with roll call on some of the supporting characters, and I said there wasn't anything to go for there. And not only have you got this knowledge in your head, but you've just given us a masterclass there. So fair play once again.
Oh, that's how kind. Well,
so lots of stuffing going on there.
Ready to break glasses in case of emergency. Oh, Fred Gwynn is, of course, Amanda. You noticed it at the time.
Who? What?
The boss of the company that Michael Douglas works for. You said, "Isn't he out the Addams Family?" And I went close.
Oh yes, the Munsters.
He's Herman Munster, yeah.
Yes.
I tell you, who I was impressed with, and we will move off from roll call because I did say I was trying to shorten it, but I did. But I was impressed with his best mate as part of the couples, and I thought, God, I've seen him in loads of stuff, and I went on IMDb, and he hasn't been in lots of stuff that I know.
I didn't buy him though. Like with who was the girl he was with? The girl he was with was kind of famous too.
Oh, see, this is where we show
the
lack of.
I gotta look really quick. But she was on Night Court.
She's on what?
That tours with Meatloaf.
She was, yeah. She sang for Ellen Foley. She was, Paradise by the Dashboard Light. She's the girl singing that song.
Oh, that's incredible. That's brilliant.
And she was in Night Court. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
Is it a show about?
It's about
juries at night.
Juries, courts. It's very good. It's either I guess it's an '80s show you might have missed, but
it never came over here, Joe. Unfortunately,
it's very popular here.
Sounds pretty good. Right. Okay. Well, that's roll call then. Let's get into the film. So obviously, for those that haven't seen it, it is obviously Michael Douglas, as we said at the start, has this fling. Glencoe starts to just call him a little bit more, and then the calls turn into, well, I can't take the call. They're turning up at the office. She makes things up. She makes up the fact that I think it's supposedly made up. I believe that she was pregnant.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys about.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, that's never really said that she wasn't. But in keeping
he
with
gets
that,
to call her a gynecologist, though.
Yeah, but this is where the auditor alert should have kicked in for you, sweetheart.
Oh, there's plenty of auditor alerts.
No, but the auditor alert is never call the number that somebody's trying to scam you gives you.
That's very correct, Charles.
Thank you very much, and Dom, of course. Dom knows all about this.
Well, I was going to say, though, what made it confusing with that, though, is that she said that her father died of a heart attack, and then she says, "No, I was just kidding," and then she says she's pregnant, So I thought that, well, maybe once he found out that the father did die of a heart attack and that she wasn't kidding, that they were going to try to weave that in some way. But if that's the case, then she was pregnant. because that's the first thing that she did say. And she didn't use protection. Well, we don't know about that, but he didn't for sure.
No.
He was an idiot. We'll just say that.
He was an idiot. And I know part of the point of this film is, to discuss did he deserve it or not. He had the fling, and it takes two to tango. But it wasn't just so much that he slept with her, bad enough. It's that he had quite a romantic encounter with her, didn't he? There was picnics in the park, and there was kind of skipping through the rain, and she went back to her apartment for a second night, took the dog there.
Cooking fresh pasta. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that as well as being unfaithful to his wife, which is clearly not a good thing, it was, had this big emotional connection with her. So I think he has only got himself to blame. He should have just stuck with a knee trembler around the back of Weatherspoons or whatever it was he needed to get his filthy urges satisfied and moved on, given her a false number or ghosted her or something. What any reasonable man would do under those circumstances. I just, when you're talking about opera and cooking pasta and listening to what she's got to say, then you've only got yourself to blame if she falls in love with you. That's
Dom's moral compass has just gone like that. It's all over the place.
He's practically behaving like a Frenchman by the end of it, I thought. Yeah.
Well, that brings up another conundrum, though. It's like, why would he sleep with her when he's got Anne Archer at home?
Wait a minute. Before we get to that, I know. Yeah, before we get to that, I've got to mention. So he moves in the same social circles as Glenn Close does. His wife moves in the same social circles as Glenn Close does. How did he not think for one moment that he'd be able to? It's not like, oh, I met her on a business trip or something like that. She's my girlfriend in Canada or whatever, right? They literally meet. They're at a party. It is likely they're going to be at a party again. So how stupid is he? I was going to say that he doesn't understand the ramifications for all of this. Because there's one thing to say
with his
I know,
appendage.
but even if you're doing that, you've got to surely you don't go, well, I'll do it with somebody that my wife has seen at a party, because then she goes, didn't I see you at a party? Oh, good lord! So he's a bit of an idiot for that, as well as doing the cheating, as well as everything else.
But can we return to Joe's point there, please? Because this film shouldn't be called Fatal Attraction. It should be called Bizarre Attraction, I think.
She is not attractive. I'm sorry, Glenn Close. And the first shot of her with her hair all back and that massive, but the massive forehead. I know it's her, it's not the character as such, but I even wrote in here, in my book, the first sentence, Glenn Close, not attractive at all. His wife in film is smoking hot. What?
Oh.
I don't get why he would say. I think what the film was trying to do was actually show you the mundane routine things of family life and how difficult it can be with a young child in the house. So you don't get that alone time. You don't get those opportunities that you do before you have children. You can be quite, spontaneous. So you have to pick and choose your moments. And I guess life gets in the way sometimes. So that opportunity to have a saucy, sexy kind of exciting fling, if that pops up, and you could see he did actually really want to have sexual relations with his wife, but things kept happening that kept stopping that from panning out, I guess.
So it was happening, you just saw the bits where it was being stopped.
His family life looked great. I thought he's got a beautiful apartment, loving family. His wife's attractive. I didn't really get why he wanted to have this fling, apart from the fact that it was on offer for him, and maybe that was the point. It was just he was just greedy. But his home life. I think they should have swapped the actresses, and that would have made it a more plausible.
Yeah. Well, or maybe he could have been drunk, because that's the only reason why.
Look at us defending. Wait a minute, before we even got into the morals of it. Look at
he wasn't drunk.
Look at us defending.
No, he should have been drunk.
Right. Okay.
Or on heroin. Yeah. I mean, that's. I'm just saying.
I've got to speak up for Glenn Close. She's not.
She's got a nice body. but I'm just saying one of them needed
looks-
a bag over their head. You
Hey,
know, in order.
she looked like she'd been dug up when she was in that bar. She looked like she'd been
Yeah.
dead that week. Yeah, she was like, the skin was like sunken in. It was
Just yeah, it was all a bit. Yeah. Mm.
If a pair of leathery wings had extended from her back, I wouldn't have been surprised at that point. Yeah, it would have. Yeah.
Well, do you know
maybe-
who, by the way, do you know who else went for this role? So I'll put it in there.
All right, that'll help
Okay.
What the fatal femme fatale role?
because now I'll be
Yes.
pissed. All right.
No, wait a minute. So I'm going to give you two because I'm not going to go through them all. Sally Field was considered the Sally Field, but she turned it down because she said, "Oh, I don't think my fans will accept her playing somebody with that character because she's all wholesome and everything else." But here's an interesting bit: Kirstie Alley was under consideration.
Yeah.
She's too much like the wife, though.
Yeah, and she provided a tape of a woman who'd been stalking her husband, Parker Stevenson, as part of the audition, in which he was begging him to be part of her life. And they didn't take Kirstie Alley on the role, but they took the recording that she gave him, and that's what she says on the tape. And those same things are what she says on the cassette tape. Verbatim, it says. That's exactly what she said.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's amazing. Now, Kirstie Alley. Now you've got a level playing field.
Well, yeah, you would have to change the wife then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
They're too-
let her
they're too
have
similar.
like blonde hair or, you know.
It's a good point, Joe. Maybe it's the wife that's miscast. Maybe she's just too attractive and desirable. And I noticed in the TV adaptation, which we'll get to later, they've gone for a less attractive wife at home, so it makes it more understandable, more obvious to the viewer why he plays away.
Like he should have been married to the secretary from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
We watched that today.
Which we went to see at the Electric Cinema in Birmingham this afternoon. So yes,
That's cool.
It's all very good.
You have
That
to
was,
work late tonight, honey. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the sex scenes, as I say, are good. Glenn Close, not classically attractive, but attractive enough to work, because I think the writing does a lot of the heavy lifting. The scene where they're both having the innocent drink afterwards, where it's raining and they both get the cab and they have that drink. Well, that's the writing. It's a slow burn. It's a slow burner, and that's the thing that entices him, because she's so upfront, she's so candid that it sort of takes him by surprise. So if he was going to cheat on Anne Archer, it's because he maybe didn't get that sort of honesty. I don't know. I don't know the.
Here's my notes on that seduction, that flirting scene. So,
Okay.
Lots of little smiles and knowing looks. He's got some cream on his nose and looks goofy. She wipes it off. They smile and laugh together in the rain. If I'd cringed any harder, I would have turned into a fossil. Which tickled me last weekend, but yeah, no, didn't do it for me. I felt at the start of the film, there's always beautifully shot little glimpses and snapshots of his family life, and then whenever he was with her, it was like an MTV music video. You know, the sex scenes, the going up in the elevator, her apartment. It felt like you were watching two different films, and I thought that was intentional at first. You know, to kind of contrast his home life and his adulterous life, but I'm not sure it was. It just felt quite jarring to me, and I preferred the slightly slower paced stuff, actually.
Okay. I mean, from the sex scene, the director said he didn't want the love scene to take place in a bed because it's so dreary, and he said, I thought about a sink. I thought about the sink because I remember I once had sex with a girl over a sink way back. The plates clank around and you'll have a laugh. You'll always need to have a laugh in a sex scene, he says. During filming, he yelled at the couple, praising them. If they know that they're turning you on, it builds their confidence, he says. And he used a handheld camera to film it, so there was no problem with the heat going out of the scene. And you're like, the sex scenes, I think the sex scenes work.
Yeah, no, they do.
Especially the lift. The lift.
The elevator.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit raunchy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
still wouldn't have done it though. I'd have been home at that point. I'd be like,
What,
I'm
dropped
good.
her off in the cab. Right, see you later.
Well, again, I'm not attracted to her. I mean, it would have been no movie, but I'd have been like, yeah, I'm going home. It's like, can't you come over? Yeah, I'm really
No, the
busy.
I've got to let the dog out.
Yeah, dog he's got a diarrhea problem.
Exactly.
I can't leave him.
Oh my God.
I think it's
I put
interesting.
in here, like they were straight at it, and then they go dancing afterwards. Who does that? Sorry, that didn't gel with me. And I wrote here, poor dog, but he shat everywhere. He was locked up for like God knows how many hours. Poor thing.
Yeah.
And then Sunday antics, romping in the park, a fake heart attack. Her father died. And then they go back to hers and start making pasta and play Madame Butterfly. But then here comes the crunch moment, isn't it? It's like he goes to try and leave and then says, oh, well, I think you're terrific, but I'm married. And then she says, just my luck. And then that's when he's not allowed to leave because they've done a little bit of sex stuff.
Hanky-panky.
Yeah, and then he's not allowed to leave, and she rips his shirt. And then after that, that's when she cuts her wrists.
Yeah,
and it just seems a little bit.
Yeah,
they haven't even been together 24 hours.
Yeah,
that's why I want to know more about her character. What point do you assume you're part of somebody's, life?
Well, it's interesting because
24 hours.
What she says when she, in a 2013 interview, she said she would have rethought the portrayal of Alex Forrest because of the fear that the film's popularity might have been a contributing factor towards mental health stigma. She says, I would read that script totally differently. The standing thing was that in my research for Fatal Attraction, she said she talked to two psychiatrists. Never did a mental disorder come up at all in those conversations. Never did the possibility of that come up, she says. That, of course, would be the first thing I think of now. What she was basing that on is that she had trauma when she was younger. Like, something to do with her dad. And that would have caused this disorder that she's got. So, but it's weird that the mental health stuff wouldn't have come in. But this was the 80s. Nobody really discussed mental health.
Well, what's interesting about Glenn Close's own personal past is that her and her family lived with a borderline cult called the Moral Rearmament, a conservative religious movement.
Oh, right, okay.
Controlling doctrines. And Glenn Close's father was the personal physician to the group's leader. And it was only when she went to boarding school in her later teenage years that she kind of escaped that. That probably made it sound more sinister than it was, but it was definitely a full-on thing. And so, yeah, I'm quite surprised that her understanding of coercion of mental illness and these issues wasn't a bit sharper than it was at the time of making this film.
They probably loved seeing that movie.
Did you notice as well where her apartment was located? And like the graphics that you saw between her apartment and his apartment, it was very contrasting. So her apartment, I've written, not the nicest of areas for an apartment. It was across the road from like an abattoir. And like when they first went to her apartment, they went through like loads of people carrying meat. And I thought that's a bit weird. But inside her apartment, it's all white. Did you notice that? So I guess the whole blood thing has more dramatic effect as well. Especially, when he's kind of like searching for medicine cabinets. Why do you want a medicine cabinet after someone's cut themselves? Oh, heaven knows. But there we go. So he's smearing blood all through the apartment. But I've just put outside is very grey and meaty. Whereas his home life is a lovely residential area, very homely, quite upbeat, quite upmarket. So it's very contrasting.
Well, most apartments here, especially in Manhattan, they're painted white.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but his wasn't. His was very traditionally decorated.
I forget. Was his an apartment or was it a house?
His
apartment.
But they
moved
had the house.
to the house in the country. Yeah,
I forget. Yeah, but like if you own your own place, you'll paint it, and maybe who knows, But I know that the majority of places when you go in, like they'll just make everything white, so you can decide what you want it to be. Like if you're renting.
Okay.
Ooh,
One
okay.
of the other observations I had was, why did they dress the daughter in oversized adult t-shirts?
The 80s
That's
To
not
con-
80s.
to confuse us.
kind of is.
It was just a bit mental. Not once, but 2 or 3 times they did that.
I did think though that the scenery, the parts of New York, it was really, really evocative of, not that I was there, but as I imagine 1980s New York to have been. So I think if we're looking for things to complement the film on, and I think that sense of place, the 1980s New York, Manhattan, successful, wealthy people, I thought that was pretty good actually. I thought some of the stuff that was filmed at his apartment, his family dynamics, I thought that was almost reminiscent of a bit of Woody Allen, perhaps even.
Okay, yeah. Good shout. Yeah.
I think, Amanda, to your point, when it was her stark, more modern apartment in the meatpacking districts and things, it was, almost like an MTV video in contrast to that. But no, I really enjoyed the city as a location for the film.
Yeah.
And nobody shoots street scenes and cities like Adrian Lynn does. Can I just say, 9.5 weeks. 9.5 weeks is beautifully shot, and both Mickey Rourke and Kim Basinger are fantastic in that film. But yeah, similar to that. Whenever I hear the song "Slave to Love," it instantly puts me back in 9.5 weeks. Mickey Rourke, long coat, walking down the street, steam coming up from the manhole covers. You're like, yes, iconic. Okay, so what about what she does and how she turns? So if we move past this bit, then how it starts. It's almost like how it starts, how it started, how it's going now.
Clearly, after cutting her wrists, that's just like not normal, is it? I'm surprised he didn't he was a nice guy. Well, he obviously helped her. Saw she was in a bit of an emotional state. He obviously stayed and helped her. I don't know why they didn't go to hospital though, because surely you're supposed to do that with a deep cut. Heaven knows. I don't know what he ripped up. Was it a sheet or something? Anyway, and then bandaged her up, and then he then kept interacting with her afterwards, which I thought was a little bit odd. Whether or not he just thought he had to, I don't know.
I think the coldest bit of that is the next day where she comes to his office to apologise and say, I'm really sorry. Most guys would have run. What? Most guys would have just left you bleeding on the floor and would have left. Really? I think anybody in that position would have helped her and done something. And you're right, Amanda. They would have picked up the phone. They would have steadied it. They would have put some dressing on it, and then called the ambulance and say this needs to be looked at. So I think Glenn Close's character changes. I know this is going to sound a bit stupid. Not when she slashes her wrists. The darkness descends when she comes to his office, because that's the bit where you go, she's treating this like, I'm sorry you spilt some pasta last night. I'm sorry I spilt some pasta. Most people don't like that. She treats this very serious, potentially life-ending thing just so casually. And at that point, you're like, I need to reach for my lawyer. I need a restraining order. I need.
It was a control thing, though, wasn't it, to stop him from leaving at the time?
Yeah. I was going to say that, where it's I think it would have helped too if he would have said, he started calling for an ambulance. I don't know. Did he pick up the phone? I forget.
No.
But say he did. Say he called for an ambulance. He says, no, please, no ambulance. And if he hung up the phone, that would have shown that she has control over him. By her injuring herself, she has some sort of control over him. And I think you would see that in movies too, where lovers that would have a fight and then one would punch the hand through a glass, and instead of the girl leaving, she's like, no, I can't leave him, something like that.
I think this is really astute, Joe. I think that's the point there, is she's got control over him, because as you're watching this unfold, you're saying to yourself, right, what he should do now is he should tell his wife and take back the control. So the threat that she's got over him, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be messy, but he's got to tell his wife. Or he is a lawyer after all. He's going to get lawyered up and just hit her, right between the eyes with as much, restraining order and legal stuff as he can. Or he's got to go to the police and insist that the lieutenant does something, not just kind of being passive about it. But he's got to take ownership of the situation, and he doesn't. And he kind of spins and spins and spins, and it escalates and escalates and escalates. And I'm not saying it's on his fault. Obviously, he's dealing with a bit of a psycho, but yeah, he should have reasserted control of the situation, and he doesn't. Yeah. And that underlines that he is a weak man, and that's something I think the director lets him off the hook a little bit with. It's all Glenn Close as a psycho, but actually he's a greedy man for this affair when he's already got a wonderful life, and he's a weak man because he doesn't actually deal with it properly. He needs to take control of the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. He is, and in the 80s and probably continuing now, if you get millennials or Gen Z looking at this, they'll be going, she's been treated very badly. No wonder she reacts like this. It'd almost be the role reversal.
It's not proportional.
It's not proportional, you're right. But at the same time, he does. I mean, let's look at what he does. As Dom points out, this isn't just a quickie round the back of the newsagents. This is he has a lovely weekend with her. I mean, what are you doing, man? I mean, this is. Of course, you're probably leading her on to think that actually there might be something happening here. I mean, it's not just like incident, leaves, goes home, blah, 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 bang, comes back the next day, incident, and then leaves and whatever else. He just spends the weekend.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Well, I was going to ask you guys, has anyone been in a relationship like that where the other person has been obsessed or you've been obsessed?
Obsessed with somebody else?
Not I'm aware of.
Well, apart from Amanda, I'm obsessed with Amanda, of course.
Which is stupid. You're not obsessed with me, you muppet.
No, not in the fatal attraction sense, but in a lovely sense. I think about you all the time.
No, you don't.
I do.
What am I going to cook you for tea?
Yeah.
Have I done the laundry? Have I done the cleaning?
Well, obviously, my sentimentality is going unrequited. So
unnoticed, I think.
Oh dear! Wow. Okay. Well, let's move on.
I was going to say, I know I was in this relationship for after 2 weeks. She wanted to start looking for rings, engagement rings.
Oh, okay.
And
seriously?
Yeah. And then I just said, one day I was just in a mood, and I says, look, and I told her, I says, I'm in a mood. I'm just not going to pick up my phone. I'm not going to answer anything. So I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm just don't feel like talking to anybody. She texted me 20 something times, and she says, I just want to know that you're okay. Can you please respond? Because why aren't you answering your calls? It's I think I'm going to come over. And that scared the hell out of me, So I kind of, when I watch this movie, it's yeah, I can relate in a way, I hope she's not listening. I'm surprised.
In which case, that knock on the door on Wednesday might be a
knife. Knife first.
Not the pizza man. No.
I did have a relationship that wasn't obsessive, but it was quite intense.
Here we go.
But it was
spoiler, wasn't me.
No,
pre or post Charlie.
Yeah.
Before Charles, just
everything's
before,
pre.
Actually.
Don't spare us any detail, no matter how filthy.
Yeah, elevators.
I don't think it's that kind of podcast. I'm sorry. I'm not spilling the beans on any of that. But the way it ended was all a bit weird because it was all quite intense, and then he ghosted me, and that sent me a little bit loony. I'm not going to lie. It did my head in because he gave me no reason whatsoever as to why the relationship had ended. That had done my head in to the point where I didn't know if it was something I'd done, said, acted, whether he'd gone off me. I just wanted a reason, and I got nothing. I had no reason why it ended, and that was really hard to get over. So I don't identify with this character Alex, but the not knowing as to why something has stopped
Yeah, being ghosted. Yeah.
is really, it plays with your head in a big way. So I had to make sure I was ready to enter the relationship with Charles before we went down any sort of relationship route, because it was a real moment. It was not nice, and I didn't want that fallout to impact on us. So,
and also really quick, I was kind of like John Favreau in Swingers, where I would call up a girl way too many times.
Oh,
and then it's
don't remind me of that scene. That is
yeah,
every single
So,
time, Mikey.
I was a wee bit obsessive at times, like when I was younger. And when I look back at it, it's like, you idiot, should have played it so much more cooler.
you just go along with it, though, don't you? At the time, it's just how things pan out. Sometimes.
Yeah, it's like, what do I do? It's like, if I stay away from her, it's gonna look like I'm not interested. If I'm, going after her too much, it's gonna look like I'm obsessive. It's like, but I really like this girl, so what do I do? What do I do?
Oh.
Start sharpening my knife.
What?
No, I'm trying to be like this movie.
Oh, right. So when they have the friends over for dinner and they're having their little lovely friend meal at his house, and the phone starts ringing, and it's Alex on the other end, but silent because the wife answers the phone, and then she calls again at 2 a.m. and then says, "Yeah, we'll meet up at 6." And then she says, "I'm not trying to hurt you. I love you." Seriously.
So, do we think Anne Archer in this case is hopelessly thick? That she gets a silent call, she gets the 2 a.m. call. Oh, who was that? I mean, who's phoning him at 2 a.m.?
Well, he tried to pretend it was his boss, didn't he?
Exactly. Yeah. And all she needs to do is she needs to go to the party and goes, "Stop phoning my husband at 2 a.m. in the morning." In which case he goes, "Hey, what?"
Well, I said to you, didn't I? I said, "Oh, they needed 1471." Now,
good Lord.
I don't know if Joe will get that.
For our listeners outside of the UK, that means absolutely nothing.
Do you know what that is, Joe?
What was a caller ID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You dial it and it tells you the number, unless they're savvy enough to have blocked it in the first place, in which case, their ex directory or whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to point out, I just wanted to move it along probably a little bit. I like so we got the brake fluid on the car, which starts escalating this a lot more. I think it was brake fluid. Is it brake fluid?
I thought it was acid.
I thought it was acid too.
Well, brake fluid has a similar. Okay, all right.
It looked like it melted
you want
the
to
car.
tell us, babe?
No, well, there is a story attached to that, but I won't. Yeah, I won't tell you how I know what brake fluid does to a car. But that's a.
Charlie, do you remember when in Nottingham somebody wrote the word "I" on your car?
What's that? Wrote it what?
I'm sure it was. Somebody just wrote the word "I" P-I-E.
I.
Oh God.
Yeah, that was hilarious because not only was it, expensive and really annoying, but it was the absurdest, surrealist,
irrelevant.
I'd forgotten all about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because I was like, why? What? Why?
Why pie?
When I saw you the next day, you just couldn't get past that point of why pie?
Why? It's like writing giraffe. It's just like why?
Salvador Dali's spiritual air was going through space with this permanent marker. Yeah, pie. Oh, that was funny.
Good Lord, I'd forgotten that. Anyway, brake fluid, acid, whatever. The rental car where he plays the cassette. That's a good moment, and she's following him. That's great direction. That's great writing, as I say, nicked from Kirstie Alley's experience or Parker Stevenson's experience, but it's great.
I wouldn't have listened to it.
She's so obsessed with him, isn't it? She says,
yeah.
"I feel you, I taste you, I think you."
Yeah. Ooh.
That's proper kind of wowzers.
And then becoming, obviously, at that point, she'd already befriended the wife, which meant that because she was interested in buying the place, that she'd always get the updated phone number. So no matter how much she changed the phone number, I need to give it to that nice Alex lady that's buying the house. so she'd always have access to it. That's quite clever from
Yeah.
her point of view.
But did you notice though towards the end of the tape it got the lovingness and the I really want you, I really love you, it completely changed to you've turned my life upside down without a thought for anyone else. Yeah, I'm not going to say the other word. It's something about sea sucking. There we go.
So was that tape like completely full, like, and then you turn it around, and there's more of her talking on it?
I don't know.
It could have been, it could have been like she was so damn psychotic that she spoke for at least an hour on that tape.
Well, was it? Do you think it was a C90?
C90.
Yeah,
Or a
it could have been.
C180? Or a C120?
Well, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt and making it like a C60.
C30. Ooh, now we're talking.
Wow.
So obviously then goes home, he goes to the police aren't going to do anything, and then we get the famous, as you mentioned it right at the start, again why it's iconic is because we get the term bunny boiler, because that's what she does.
It's coined from the film, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Again, why it's iconic. One of the things, by the way, I did want to mention, and I left it out roll call, and I am absolutely kicking myself. Michael Douglas in Disclosure. Again, encountering treatment from a woman that's unacceptable, but in this case, is a boss. That film is bona fide, and I know it sounds really strange. Probably, I would say top 15 in my top 15 of the 90s. I just think he is. Everybody in that is incredible, and it's got Donald Sutherland in it, which doesn't hurt any time.
I started watching that after you recommended it.
And what did you think?
I didn't finish it. I'll tell you later on.
Oh, right. Oh, dear.
But I kept confusing the two films.
Okay.
I kept thinking, does this take place in Seattle or is it New York? Even now as we're talking about it, I'm confusing the scenes.
So can we, after that, the bunny boiling scene, which is I think I did have some trivia on that for the bunny itself. According to Leading Lady by Stephen Galloway, the dead rabbit was real and was obtained from a local butcher before it was skinned for consumption. Anne Archer's grim reaction while approaching the stove was in part due to the boiling water causing the carcass to smell foul. So tried to keep it all real. But it's a good moment. The switch away to Ellen shouting out daddy, to her discovering that, and then I think we get one of the best scenes in the film, because we see Anne Archer open up her acting chops, and the fight that she sort of has with Michael Douglas is I just wrote down, he tells her all about it. The moment is devastating. Anne Archer is incredible, because I just think that she's a woman scorned, a woman that totally taken it by left field. She's had this woman in her house. She's befriended the woman. She's seen her at the party. All of these things that have happened, the car, everything, and it got to this point before she got involved. No wonder. No wonder. And I was going to leave this for trivia time, but I have to put this in. So when they are fighting, you get the image of Ellen looking on at her parents fighting.
Oh, that's really sad, isn't it?
It's heartbreaking. This will make it even worse for you. So to get the desired reaction shot from Ellen during the scene, Michael Douglas was behind the camera threatening to take the stuffed unicorn that she was holding, saying, "Look at that stupid unicorn, I'm going to throw it in the garbage," which is why she begins crying and hugging it tighter. That's what you see.
Oh, really?
Wow.
After
How old was she?
I would say 6, 7.
I just said 6.
Yeah,
very abusive.
5 or 6. Yeah.
After director Adrian yelled cut, Douglas immediately apologized to her, saying, "I was only kidding," and gave her a big hug. In an interview years later, he said, "I feel pretty guilty, but you got to do what you got to do." And I'm like, well, I know there's method acting, but saying look behind the camera. I'm going to rip the unicorn's head off if you don't. Right, that's what I'm going to do. I'll be like,
honestly, he did the right thing, and that's why another reason why the 80s were better than today, because child actors are generally terrible, and if he can encourage some, actual emotion, fair play to him. So yeah, I'm Team Douglas on this one.
oh, it's that compass again. The compass is swaying. It's all over the place.
It was like Stanley Kubrick with Shelley Duvall in The Shining.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, what was that again?
They just abused the hell out of her and
Oh,
said she was gross and you shouldn't have hired her. She's a horrible actress.
Yeah. Made her do the film scene 40 takes, just to bully him.
So we do have that scene. She kicks him out. The line that's also in the trailer, which is, what happens when she doesn't get it out of the system. Don't worry, she'll work this out. She'll work it out of the system. What happens if she doesn't? Obviously, then you have Glenn Close picking up Ellen from school and creating that trauma for Anne Archer, which I think every parent would be able to understand. Is the wait a minute, where is somebody, and then getting worse and worse and worse as you realise that it is not just they're hiding somewhere or something. They're actually been taken by somebody else. It's bizarre that Ellen hadn't had the stranger, talk, but then I suppose you can't really have that these days because you have nominated people, certainly in the UK, to pick up kids, so you can't just have somebody that walks in. So from safeguarding point of view. So
do you have that in the US, Joe? Do you know?
Oh, there's a certain password or whatever.
No, it's only certain people can collect the child.
Well, yeah, that's kind of it, but yeah, they do have that.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. I was gonna say too, like the part where she gets in the house and all that. It reminds me a lot of Cape Fear, like when De Niro broke in and then they, they'd be a good couple.
Max Cady and Alex Forrest. Yeah, I want to see that film. So obviously, for those that've seen it, Anne Archer has the car crash. The look that her dad gives Michael Douglas when he walks into the hospital room.
That's not a welcome.
Steady on there, Chief.
Reception, is it?
Yep. And she is so forgiving in this. With all of the stuff that's been happening, with all of the things that have happened, she's so forgiving. Because of the crash, it forces Michael Douglas to go to the house, and this is where we can start bringing possibly other things in here. I know it seems obvious, and you probably have it written down, but for those that didn't notice it, did you notice what was the scene where he goes and visits her, and to the moment that he leaves? Did anyone else notice what was unique about the scene?
Nope.
Nobody says a word.
Nope.
There's nothing. Nobody says anything to each other. It's just all conveyed through looks, violence. She comes at him with a knife. Everything. There's nothing said. And I'd never spotted that before, but I was like, nobody said anything to each other. He's forced his way into the door. She's run off. He's done this. She's kicked him. All this sort of thing. But because she's got the knife and he takes the knife, he holds onto the knife, puts it on the side, and walks out. And then you've got that knife there. We'll talk about that in a moment and why that would be relevant. But who wants to go and talk about the final scene? Because I just think now we are in pure Hollywood 80s territory.
Well, after that fight, he tells the police, doesn't he?
Yeah, I just said he told the police, and that's where the police says, what happens when it's not out of the system, and yeah. What about the final scene? It's just pure 80s. It's a perfect. It's the whole thing. The bath running, the kettle boiling.
Yeah.
Everything to do with that. It's perfectly done.
It's building up to the crescendo, isn't it?
I would have liked to see it in the theaters just to see people's reactions.
Oh, mate, everyone was just, especially. I mean, for those people that know how films are done, when she wipes the window, she wipes the glass
The
of
mirror.
the thing, and then she sees, yeah, you're gonna know that's where she's going to appear. The way that she's standing, yep, she's going to appear there. But it's still a surprise, and it was shocking. People were, they were outraged by it because it was so visceral. That bit, you just had the Michael Douglas scene. You just had the bit where he's gone to a flat. That's next level. Everything's sorted. Why they didn't get police to come and protect them? Why didn't they hire something, knowing that she was still out there? I don't know, but
I think Hitchcock would have loved this movie.
Yeah, and that's high praise, Joe. I think definitely.
Did you notice as well? He was locking the doors on the inside, but she had already got in at that point.
So like Scream, basically.
Look, I hate to be the contrarian amongst us, but I didn't like the ending. So, really interesting, because I think we're all aware that there's an alternate ending that was originally filmed, and that the one that we all watched when we watched the movie is actually reshot based on audience feedback. Do you want
to describe actually what was in the original ending, how it went?
Before we do that, let's do the one that we see in the film first.
Okay,
and then we'll come back to yours, Dom.
This is the one that the three of you think is a strong ending. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go on then. What did you three run with this one?
No,
I like this ending. I've seen the alternative. I like this ending because it's more of a moment. It's more of a movie moment, I would say, and it finishes on a oh my god, kind of. It's
but
heightened.
if we're just talking, if you want to bring up the name, the username of Hitchcock would probably prefer the other ending.
Oh, I don't know. When she's like literally, you think she's like been drowned, and then she just literally comes out of the bath, and then gets shot by the wife.
Let me read you Roger Ebert's end. I won't.
Oh, I didn't get this. This would be this is good.
This is Roger Ebert's review of the end of the film, so from his point of view. So, basically, really likes the film, but doesn't like the ending. And from a little bit earlier, so he says the movie does not explore any of these avenues, although the filmmakers clearly have the intelligence to do so. Instead, the last third of the movie collapses into pathetic melodrama. The big scene of truth between Douglas and Archer is shortchanged and feels unfinished. There is a pathetic sequence in which Close captures their daughter and scares her with a rollercoaster ride, while a frantic Archer gets in a car crash and breaks her arm. Give me a break. And then there is the horror movie conclusion, complete with the unforgivable Friday the 13th cliche that the villain is never really dead. The conclusion, by the way, operates on the premise that Douglas cares nothing for his unborn child. Honestly,
whoa!
I thought you have this movie which was really interesting, elements of what I thought was Woody Allen, well observed, well directed, well edited, and then it just felt for me like they just tacked on a very stereotypical Hollywood and gory thing to pander to the audience's desire to see Glenn Close punished in that way. And I thought the alternate ending, if I can get onto that, which is where Glenn Close commits suicide in a very brutal, visceral way by slicing her own throat, but with a knife which crucially has Michael Douglas's fingerprints on from their encounter previously in her apartment. He's then arrested and led away by detectives, and we see his wife playing a tape, which presumably is going to then be the crucial piece of evidence that gets him off. But it's not all spelled out. There's kind of things that are implied, and the audience is left to do some thinking. I thought it was much more fitting with the rest of the film, and indeed, was obviously the originally intended ending, which was panned audience feedback. So totally get the point. I listened loud and clear. The three of you prefer the ending we saw, as did theatre audiences in the US. But for me, much more kind of interesting ending, I thought, was the ambiguity of the alternate.
Yeah. The original ending that was filmed but not used. I actually thought when she found the cassette tape and she started playing it and then heard it, in my mind, I'm like, is she going to destroy the tape? So there's actually no evidence.
Crikey! Now
what I was thinking, because I had a bit of anxiety watching it, is I thought Beth, and that was my wife Beth, she'd inadvertently record over it, and she'd be like, "Oh, which button is it? Oh no, wait a minute, I've recorded over it." And then I'd be doomed to doing life sentence on the basis she got.
Does Beth listen to the podcast?
Yeah, well,
you're in trouble, mate.
Right, it all relies on Beth being able to use the tape recorder technology to get me exonerated.
Oh, brilliant.
Guilty, Your Honour. I'll try and get off on a guilty plea. Yeah.
It's
I
funny
think
you say that.
It did run through my mind. Is she going to destroy the tape so she gets her revenge on him for him being
Amanda, I told Charlie that. That's exactly what I told him. I thought it would have been a better ending if she did have the tape.
Because it's a bit of a twist then, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That would have been...
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's how I would have liked that ending better. But if it ended that way where she's like, I've got the evidence.
Yeah.
You know,
it's all a bit twee, isn't it?
Yeah. But if she was like, this woman kidnapped my child, I almost died, just because he wanted to get laid,
Yeah.
And he
it's
hid
the
this all.
ultimate revenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Basically destroying the tape, although that wasn't in the ending. To actually then get your husband, who you loved and adored, who actually turns out to be a bit of a knob, to get him locked up.
He's quite the knobhead.
Yeah.
Oh, look at crikey.
Yeah.
Steady on there, Dick Van Dyke. We don't want any of that on this
Quite the
podcast.
knobhead, almost like.
The hell was that? Are you auditioning for the Dick Van Dyke show?
I was, actually. Yeah.
Or Lin-Manuel Miranda, who thinks he's got a great accent in Mary Poppins. Spoiler alert, is rubbish. But it's still not as bad as the worst accent ever put on celluloid, which is Joe. The worst British accent. We discussed it many times. Don Cheadle in Ocean's 11. Oh my goodness. Oh, and rewatching Frasier, Anthony LaPaglia playing Daphne's brother. Oh my goodness. I don't know what that is. I have no idea. While we're just on the ending, just before we go to the scores, from trivia, because I don't think I'll have any trivia, because I think we've done it all. I've interweaved it, unless anybody else has some.
Oh, look at you,
might not even have to pray. Look at us, actually. Some of the ideas do work. The decision to reshoot the ending garnered mixed reactions from the cast and crew. The director initially disliked the idea, but agreed to it after a Paramount executive offered him $1.5 million.
Oh.
No, I would have done it.
Yeah.
When Anne Archer
to a bigger house, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to?
It's the Michael.
You want me to make it a musical? I'll make it a musical.
It's the Michael Caine. Did you ever watch Jaws of Revenge? No, but I do like the house it paid for. That's great. Jaws of Revenge will have to be done at some point. We will have to get there, but not this season, because I know all your films and the others you don't know their films. When Anne Archer learned of the news, she was flabbergasted and immediately burst into tears. Glenn Close was staunchly opposed to the idea and even refused to take part in it. According to co-producer Sherry Lansing, Glenn Close felt sympathy for Alex and fiercely resisted cliches about another female psycho. Michael Douglas, on the other hand, had no objection and felt that the reworked ending would help make the movie successful. Close and Douglas got into an argument over the ending, after which time Glenn Close contacted William Hurt, who finally convinced her to participate in the reshoot. So there you go. There's a lot of conversations.
I thought you were going to say they got in a fight and she stabbed them.
So do you think, I think we've done a lot. I think it's about the right sort of, we wanted to keep it to an hour and a half. I know you like us a little bit more.
We didn't give our ratings though.
We are going to do the ratings in a moment. Just before we do that, we're going to trial, I've got permission from the estate Bobby Wygan, who did a lot of interviews in the 80s with all of the movie stars. For those in the UK, a sort of Graham Norton without the camp, but she was very precise. She wanted to, that's I've seen her interviews. I liked it. I like the fact that when Howard the Duck came out, she still did interviews with Leah Thompson and Thomas Dolby. So I was like, I like you. I'm going to start watching this. So we're going to start doing a little like a supplementary thing, whereby we'll have a look at what some of the actors said about the particular things that we discussed on this. So expect that in about a week or so's time. because that's something that I'll be doing. If any of the others, if you'd like to jump on, by all means, we can do. But I know it's hard to try and schedule the podcast. The other thing, just before we go to the scores and then go to the all-important draw for the next film,
I wonder what that was then. I thought it was some kind of weird elephant.
is Dom, you have to justify why you think an 8-part series of remake of Fatal Attraction is justified in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I think for the reasons that we've heard on this pod today, that there's a set of contrasting views about the film. I think there's ways they could have taken it, other interpretations. I think the sexual politics 40 years later is well worth having another look at. So, yeah, don't get me wrong.
You want more sexy, steamy sort of scenes, dear Dom?
I do, yeah.
Now you're past your teenage years. I need to be a little bit more.
I have a lot of places you can go to, Dom, by the way, instead of having to watch that series.
I really want them to explore the theme of consent amongst men and women.
Consent. Yeah.
So look, I think I watched the first episode. They make the wife less attractive. That's a good start. Joshua Jackson is the lead actor.
Amanda Peet is his wife. Less attractive.
Than Anne Archie, yeah.
Amanda Peet. Oh,
I don't know who
she
they
was
are.
very attractive. I didn't see her in the show.
Yeah, but she is.
But Dom, isn't this based on the alternate reality or the alternate or the original ending?
Which I think is telling. Yeah, so they use the original / alternate ending as the jumping off point for this reboot. So yeah, so after one episode, I thought it was pretty decent, and I probably would watch a second episode. That's my ultimate endorsement.
They can only make one season though.
I think like anything in Hollywood, if it's profitable, they'll find a way, won't they?
So does it take place like once he's released from prison?
Yeah, so it starts. So most of it's in. So he's released from prison in the modern day, and he's trying to rebond with his daughter. But a lot of it's shot in flashback to an updated version of the actual film. So the Glenn Close character is played by a more attractive woman who works in victim support. He's still a kind of a high-flying lawyer who misses out on a judgeship. So the basic premise is faithful, but then they take it in a different direction. I mean, they've got to spin it over 8 hours worth of TV, haven't they, as well? So, did you watch it, Charlie? What did you think?
Yeah, I did. I wasn't. I'm not impressed. I did toy the idea of doing a spin-off podcast, which is get your own stuff, insert a swear word for stuff. But I'm just keeping it clean on this podcast. If the stuff that you're writing and the stuff that you're doing isn't landing, don't start nicking from the 80s and do it and making a brand new thing. I get you, Dom. I get the fact that you'd like to maybe see it through a current lens and how people see it. The current lens at the moment ain't brilliant. The way that people are interpreting things. We've all had conversations with each other about this plenty of times. There are things that should just be left alone. There's been so many Fatal Attraction rip-offs recently. There was that one with Hilary Swank that we watched where, and again, I watched with you, Amanda, and we watched it on Netflix, where she was obsessive towards him. To the black guy, I can't remember his name. He lived up in the mountains. He was very successful, and he had an affair with Hilary Swank. Now it's gone in one ear and out the other with you, and I don't blame you because it wasn't very good. So what did they do?
I actually did watch that.
Yeah, we watched it together. Yeah, we watched it together. So what do? They go, we're making rubbish. So what we need to do is nick from the past and make that rubbish as well. And we've got so many examples of when this has happened now that this is getting tedious. Now, I'm willing to be wrong, Dom, that the second episode might get better. I know there's 4 episodes out at the moment, so maybe I need to watch it. But I'm just... Oh, I might get on the soapbox, but yeah, it's just...
Go on, let's do scores.
Yeah, let's do scores. So, I'll go first. I think this is very well made, very well directed, acting, writing, everything iconic. I'm going to give it a strong 8.
I thought you were going to go with a 10. I am shocked.
I'm not going to go to. I've got films that will be a 10. I think in this, but yeah. Who wants to go next? Dom? Should we go round in that way?
There's a lot I like in this film. Michael Douglas's performance, the way it evokes 1980s New York, the portrayal of the family dynamic, but a couple of major flaws which can't be ignored. Glenn Close's casting and performance, and the ending. I've added a half point to my review after listening to everyone on the pod today, so I'm going to score it a 7 out of 10.
Right. Okay.
I think Joe should go next because he
okay.
only watched it 5 days ago.
Yeah, like I said, I enjoyed it because, again, when you look at the crap that we get nowadays, it's nice to see a good movie for a change.
Yes.
Mm.
And I think, like I said, I think it was well done. It was well acted, well directed, well written. I was kind of surprised at how we tore this movie apart, that it didn't affect my rating. I'm still going to give it a strong 8, like Charlie.
Oh, nice, Joe.
Wow.
Nice. Okay, this is it. Dom, you were right. This is a good opener. This is a good film to open with. So, not that there's anything riding on it, but drum roll.
I'm going to give it a 3. No, not really. I'm going to give it a 7. I would have scored it higher, but only because of things that we've discussed, because I think there was more to Alex's character that we should have seen. So for me, that's why I haven't scored it higher.
Because you needed that backstory.
I wanted more of a backstory, because otherwise it just makes her look like
a
complete utter psycho. And I don't think that would have been real after a 24, 48-hour relationship. That's the bit I have a difficulty with. So it's a 7 because it was an entertaining film.
Okay. Excellent.
So it scored quite well then from all of us.
Yeah, it did. Got an average of 7.5.
Yeah, it's good. Come up with a nice average too.
Yeah, 7.5 average. Well, it's now top of the leaderboard until I can go back and do all the others in that way.
That actually fits with the 2 scores that we take.
The Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, 75% and 72%.
Look at that. Look at are we in touch? The zeitgeist. Speaking of quality films, and obviously we started with a quality film in that sense. We have everybody's the hat of plenty. I can say that the large majority of these films we're going to have so many good times. Can I just applaud all of your selections, apart from one of yours, Joe, which you're going to inflict upon us, and I don't know why. I don't know what I ever did to you.
It was lucky
that bad. But if I'm saying that, and
I'll discuss it if we ever reach that. I will.
But I'd be quite happy to put Jaws of Revenge on all of you, and then you all moan and then go, "Oh,
you can't have 6 films."
I haven't picked. Are you allowed 6?
No, you can't have 6 films. You've got 5.
No. I said I would happily inflict. I haven't picked it. I would happily inflict Jaws of the Revenge on all of you with delightful glee, and we'd have a good time because there's so many that's wrong with that. We'd end up just having a good laugh about it. The one that Joe's picked, yeah, not so sure. Anyway,
go on, roll the drums.
Okay, look. So sorry for those listening. I am doing this as fairly as I can.
Ta-da!
And it is you, Dom, that goes next.
Oh.
So we go with, just so that you know it's all above board, The King of Comedy.
Oh.
With Robert De Niro.
That was me too.
Yeah, it wasn't me, it was Joe.
I thought it was you.
No, it was me.
Oh, Dom, I thought that was you, man. I do apologise. Yeah, Joe then. King of Comedy.
You took the wind right out of my sails. I was hoping I was going to be the first one. I was like, damn it.
I'm sorry. Well, then I've
but now I can go, yeah, it's me. I knew it would be me.
This isn't the film that you were talking about then?
No.
Okay.
No, I think it's a brilliant film, but
it's
I've never watched it.
Joker is a complimentary film to it.
Yes.
Is that why you picked it? Yeah.
No, I thoroughly enjoy it. I think it's a good movie. I've watched it several times in the last couple of years. It's just, I think it's Scorsese. It's Martin Scorsese. That's all you need to say.
Yeah, that's true.
Nice. Ooh,
fair play. There you go. Right.
I'll be in the same position as you then, Joe, because I've never seen The King of Comedy. So, and you'd never seen Fatal Attraction.
Can I just put my hand up? I haven't seen The King of Comedy.
Oh, you guys are in for it.
I have, yeah, and I think it's a great choice for this pod. I think stimulating the debate, and yeah, obviously the parallels with the Joker will be interesting to explore too.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
Good
Right.
choice then, Joe.
Nice.
Mm.
It's a start. As I say, I like all of your choices, and I'm genuinely looking forward to some of the ones that are coming. Not just mine, but yeah, genuinely looking forward to it. Right. Well, I hope you've liked the new format of the podcast. I hope you like how we do it. We didn't have trivia time. We didn't because we weaved it nicely in. If only it could go that smoothly the next time. But I'm sure it will with Joe at the helm, because what we're going to do is Joe will, whoever's film it is, will be the host, leading the podcast in that way. So yeah, it will be over to you next, Joe. So on that note, hope you've enjoyed it. Do find us at the website rustedjunkpodcast.com. Rusted Junk on Facebook. Go search for that. Search for the same thing on Instagram. We are going to start posting a lot more there. I hope you like our YouTube shorts. For those that are listening on YouTube, we're going to be posting a few more of those. And as I get the swing of things, I'm actually going to do it myself rather than asking somebody nicely to do it for me.
Don't forget to subscribe.
And don't forget to subscribe. That would be lovely if you wouldn't mind. Anyway, I'm going to say thank you to all of you for the podcast, and I'm going to say cheerio.
I'm going to find myself some After Sun to slap on, and I will be seeing you all soon. So,
It's our first hot day in the UK.
Oh, I'm going in the hot tub now.
bye everybody. Bye.
See you.
Cheers.
Toodle pip.
Bye.